Last fall, I was joined by friends and fellow photographers Andy Mumford and Hougaard Milan, who flew over to the US from Portugal and South Africa for a couple weeks of photography and exploration. We met up with friends Sarah and Marshall and drove south for a week-long road trip through southern Utah and the Arizona border in search of epic grand landscapes and good times. I won't spoil it, but we quickly found both and visited some of my absolute favorite places in my home state. However, this saga will take a couple episodes to tell, so stay tuned and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the adventure. So this morning we've come out to this really well-known overlook for sunrise. And it's just a really great spot to catch light in the morning. It's definitely a sunrise location, although it looks good at sunset as well. Then the sunrise, you get all this light facing these buttes, a little bit of direct sunlight. It looks really nice. It's a really popular spot. There's a lot of people here this morning. So we're making do. It's also a great spot for aerial photography, so you can hear all the drones in the air because the light's painting the landscape in the foreground here. And it looks really good. So I'm about to put my drone up in the air too. Took some shots last night. We were here scouting it last night. It was the first place we stopped, especially for Andy and Hougaard. Have been the first time seeing this area, so it was a really nice place to start. Giving them a nice taste of kind of what we're looking at. We were concerned it was going to be a totally cloudless day, but this morning we actually had quite a bit of cloud interest, so I'm happy for that. I've been walking around the sledge here, just looking for foreground, shooting compositions with the Canon R5. Nothing on the film camera just yet. It's a little too slow, especially with the light changing really fast. So yeah, just digitals for right now. The obvious choice for compositions at this location is looking out across the Vista and framing the eroding buttes in the background. And with a little exploration, you can find features along the ridgeline you're standing on that serve as foreground elements and add depth to the scene. And while this location can certainly work during sunset, as you can see from this video shot the evening before, the entire vista below falls into shade as the sun gets low. This brings out the blue color of the clay deposits in the landscape and works pretty well for tight compositions, but you lose any dynamic light. Sunrise, however, is totally different. The light rakes across the ridge lines of the hills below and bathes everything in a warm orange glow that works great for the larger vista shots. Flat or overcast conditions can still work though. You just have to rely on textures and contrast a lot more. And to be honest, that and harsh light have been the most common conditions I've seen from this location in the past. Some of my favorites from this trip, however, were ones that included a figure in the foreground, which I don't tend to do very often, but is something I've picked up from shooting with Andy. And in cases like this, I think it really helps sell the sense of scale and vastness of the landscape below. As great as it is shooting from the cliff edge, however, in my opinion, some of the most fun opportunities are from the air. I could easily burn through all of my batteries just floating around out there looking for interesting patterns and shapes to fill the frame. Even with no dynamic light, the spines and rivulets of these badlands are fascinating all on their own, but the early directional light definitely adds another dimension to an already incredible landscape. Once the sun gets high in the sky, it becomes hard to photograph the grand landscape, since the stark blue sky and piercing sun in the desert is too harsh to provide any interesting light for most subjects. But that is exactly when the real work gets done, exploring and scouting locations well ahead of when the light does get good. Putting in that groundwork is a crucial part of discovering interesting locations and deciding when and where to be. Fortunately, the desert southwestern landscapes of the Colorado Plateau have always got something interesting to see just around the next corner, although there may be a bit of rough road in getting there. So we're at this viewpoint now that's got these bentonite hills that have these overlapping valley textures. They're really cool. And it just so happens that the sun's going down right behind this composition. I had to hurry up and set this up. I'm shooting with the 4x5 and I'm shooting into the sun, which was a technical challenge. But I had to hurry because the sun's coming down, and as it gets lower and lower and lower, flaring becomes more of a problem. I've not included the sun. But there is some cloud on the horizon line that I wanted to capture, and the light that's kind of hitting the valley floor as you look back in layers looks really neat. So I framed just a sliver of that at the top of the composition. I'm shooting in portrait mode with Kodak Ektar 100 is what I'm shooting. So I framed this up with my 300mm f9 from Nikon lens. And it's really straightforward. I'm far enough away from the target end to really use any significant movements to speak of. It's just kind of focus straight on and set my aperture to something appropriate for depth of field. In this case, it was f45. Shutter times are quick because it's nice and bright out still. It was about 1/4 is what I shot those at. I took a couple different images to make sure that I got it. Technical challenge with this one was because of flaring. It had shade the lens, so I had some help with that.
There we go.
Thank you.
There you go, Ansel.
Yeah. So with any luck, those will turn out. And let's take a look on the light table and see what I got.
Hougaard did a great job on this scene, considering the high dynamic range and lack of grad filters. And I was happy to see that with careful shading of the front element, there was no lens flare.
So we've arrived at what's likely going to be our sunset location for the night. Although we have several options, so we've been kind of walking around just exploring different foreground elements because these bentonite hills are just absolutely fantastic. But it's just about making a decision and trying to decide what to commit to, because we're going to get one shot at this for golden hour. But there's a chance we'll be able to shoot some of this into the blue hour. We have absolutely clear blue skies right now. So what I'm kind of hoping for is blue hour shot, kind of like more gradient sky kind of stuff would be really nice. The light's starting to get low now. It's starting to look really good, so it's time to get busy focusing on compositions and see what I can frame up here, see what I can come away with. What say you, Andy?
It's an absolutely amazing place. It's a bit overwhelming, really. I don't know where to start. It's, yeah, just... So, that's my verdict.
As anyone is in this situation, so we're all in the same boat, is what to do. We have a blue hour shot, and then we're looking for the last light shot. And we'd like to get it so we could just pivot the camera, because that would be ideal. Ideal is hard to find out here.
Preferably somewhere where
I mean, it's all ideal. That's the
It's
problem.
all ideal. But
That's the problem, yeah.
But what do you want to capture?
What do you focus on?
Yeah, it's been fun though. But this is the kind of stuff that gets you geeked about doing what we do.
And then run out.
So we're getting really close to sunset now. And a lot of this is falling into shade in the foreground here in particular. I'm taking a few shots on a Canon R5 here. Mostly where the light was kind of hitting just the highlights of this stuff out here. But what we're actually waiting for is the light to get a little more even out here. Kind of more blue hour shots. Kind of wait to see what the sky does. But we have probably literally minutes before the sun dips here. It's going to blow out here, but it's going to go down below the ridgeline here and this should fall into shade. So this is going to happen pretty quick, we're thinking.
The last bits of low dappled light from the setting sun filtering through the mountain peaks in the distance provided opportunities for tight compositions, like a spotlight highlighting various features of these colorful hills. But the earlier Vista shots suffered from blank skies and a lack of drama, conditions that are all too common in the desert. But I guess it wouldn't be a desert if there were enough moisture for dramatic cloud formations all the time. Once the sun dipped below the horizon, though, things began to change. The still illuminated sky acted like a giant softbox, softening the shadows and bringing out colors in the clay deposits. This type of light is one of my favorites on desert scenes, And by adjusting the white balance to correct for the blue cast, you can get some really colorful images, but the right conditions only last a handful of moments before they're gone. So we're done now, the light's down, and that happened really quick, so we had to work fast. After we got our main camera shots, we set a person down in the foreground. We nominated Andy to be that person. Thanks, Andy.
That's not true. I volunteered.
But the person in the foreground really helps give it a sense of scale, gives it a focal point. Obviously, the cliffs are really beautiful and they're a great subject too, but that just extra little detail was really nice to have. So thanks to Andy for modeling for us. All the light's gone. The color in the sky is starting to dissipate. We have a little bit of gradient sky behind me here, but everything in the foreground is pretty well done. So that's it. But it was a really, really good session. Really happy with what we got out of this. I think I will be really happy with it. And here's a few of those shots. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next couple videos in the series where we visit even more grand landscapes in my home state. If you want to make sure you don't miss those, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.